I met you a little bit after you started your evaluation of ServiceNow and started partnering with SnowFox as well. But I'm curious what the thought process was to look into ServiceNow. What were you trying to solve for? Just walk me through kind of that inflection point.
So I told you earlier, it was, we were using NetSuite for support. And it's always like an organic thing of how things grow. You grow into things, right?
Yeah.
And so we outgrew using NetSuite. Now, we could have continued using it, but that's like 10 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And back then it was, you needed a full-time developer, you needed someone to grow into that. And we were looking for something that was like purpose-built for support.
Yeah.
And so we ended up going with Autotask at that point. But then after so many years, we outgrew that.
Yeah.
That provided the features we needed at the time. And then my rep there told us that we had the largest number of customers compared to all of their users, Autotask customers. So that right there was like, okay, we are definitely outgrowing this system. So then, then that's when we needed something more, we could have went to another like help desk centric software. But what I wanted instead was something that's more of a platform.
Yep.
That was my evaluation process. That's what like ServiceNow really proved to be, was like, yes, we can do help desk support. We can do other type of services and all that around there. But like outside of it, it was more along the lines of, I needed something where we could build services on top of that or integrate with our customers.
So it sounds like maybe some limits on what you could configure, customize, and scale with that previous solution, and then looking more for like an enterprise-wide platform that you can innovate on, that you can support new lines of business.
Yep. Customer portal was another big one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, what were some of the business outcomes or KPIs that you used even before you made the purchase to sell to some of the other team members the vision? What were you expecting to deliver from a value perspective?
Honestly, like we knew that we outgrew Autotask and that system, and just because of the demand of the customer, right?
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things is we needed flexibility, and then with like communicating with our customers. So a lot of our customers are very email driven. So being able to automate emails, being able to inbound that, or even communicate as if it's a back and forth email, being able to communicate our vendors and our customers at the same time with one ticket is a huge thing. Before, we were putting two tickets together and merging them and like doing a lot of manual work on there. So what I can tell you is on there, we were doing about 5,000 to 6,000 tickets a month on Autotask. We're currently doing around 11,000 tickets a month.
Wow.
And like the scale just seems, it's easy to scale or just kind of walk into seeing that. Yeah.
Well, I know there's a lot of advantages to just putting structured workflows, and even if you're still taking inbound emails, not necessarily responding to that in a shared inbox or something like that can create a lot of efficiencies too. So if you were to summarize in terms of what you saw from that phase one, where you got kind of a customer service management, the portal put in place, and I believe you guys did internal as well, right?
Yep.
What would be kind of those efficiencies if you were to read that back to yourself or your team? What would you say they were?
I mean, it was seeing the scale that we jumped to without skipping a beat, without feeling overwhelmed. The other thing on there is our customers saw the communication factor for us just increase.
Yeah.
Them being able to see what's going on, again, what I said with the portal, them seeing able, like us escalating, because there's a lot of times that we have to talk to the third party.
Yeah.
Like there's a software that we don't manage, but we're going to be the person that actually coordinates that with the store. So seeing that, like it really, the amount of the total ticket open time was decreased. Now our average, I think, is about 3 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. So compared to like, I think it was like 8 to 10 before.
And in the context of what you guys do, just for our audience, I know we touched on resource POS at the beginning, but this impacts not only your customers who are typically those quick service restaurants, right? But also their customers. If a point of sale system's down, what does that mean to your customers and their customers if you're able to get that done a little bit faster?
Right. So obviously we look at it as like, let's just get the thing fixed, right?
Yeah.
But to the stores, their whole thing is if the drive-through is down, which is one of the number one revenue centers for them, or if a register is down, that means there's no money coming into that store.
Wow.
So, or customers walking away. And the restaurants and the store managers and owners of those franchisees, they're measured on that. How much revenue? What is the walkaway rate? Things like that.
Wow.
They have different things. So that's our job, is to make sure that we're not making that happen for them.
What I'd imagine that's a big differentiator for you guys against your competition is how quickly can you help them get back up and running, and then putting a dollar value to that. I'm sure you have somewhere that documented like what that average looks like, and it sounds like it's improved, which is
Our focus is on the critical, like when a store is down, or if a register is down, or if they can't take credit cards. That is how our focus is, and that's what we use ServiceNow for, is to funnel that so it hits the people that need to take action to that right away.
When you've touched a couple times on integrations, not only to systems, but also with third-party entities, whether that's a partner of yours or a customer of yours. We've done a lot of the Service Bridge or Service Exchange, as they now call it, where you're actually bonding your ServiceNow instance to your customer's instance, which is a unique, pretty cool thing that ServiceNow does. What has that meant to Resource POS?
That was a big decision factor too. We realized when we were like deciding on which software to implement, a lot of our customers already had ServiceNow for their internal systems. And talking to them, it was like, oh, if they had ServiceNow, if we had ServiceNow, that would be a fantastic way of taking their already existing operations that they're doing, and then being able to just push that over to us without sending an email or doing ever. So, and we've already done that with a couple customers, and it's been outstanding.
It's fun work for our team too. It's definitely really exciting to see the impact of that. Want to shift gears a little bit to kind of what it's meant for the doers on your team that actually work in the system. And from a leadership perspective, how you see it impacting them. So a big thing that we talk about when we do our implementations at SnowFox is that kind of key outcomes and the organizational change management planning aspect of it. And I think that's often a harder thing to get right than the actual technology, even though it can be difficult to do that as well. Can you walk me through what it was like kind of transitioning your team to a new tool, a new process? How did they respond at first? Do they like it now? Do they find that it makes their life easier?
Well, so first off, one of the main driving factors of getting into ServiceNow was the complaints of our agents, of our techs. And so like that was one of the main things. And then seeing all of like the short pitfalls that we've had, like communication aspects and things like that. So that was one big thing. So the motivation to get off or to make that change with our team was already there.
That's awesome.
And then we kind of got lucky because all of them are service techs. All of them are technical, thinking. So it wasn't hard to either bring them in on meetings during the change, or what's going to change, or testing, because they're all like they already knew what needed to happen. So I think that was one of the things that like we didn't really experience, because I had at that point like 65 guys who were ready to go and understood what a ticketing system would be. Some had experience with ServiceNow from previous jobs. So
that certainly makes it easier.
It does.
That's rarely the case. There's usually a handful of folks that don't want the cheese moved, as they say. But that's awesome. I know that you've done, I don't know, at least 2 or 3 phases now of net new product implementations, and you're a current managed service customer at SnowFox, and we've done a lot of continuous improvement based stuff. I have my opinion on what's hard about maintaining that momentum, but I'd love to hear from a customer's perspective, how do you keep everything fresh over, what is this, year 3, year 4, or something like that, since you made the initial investment?
Fresh with just with like using a ServiceNow. I mean, honestly, it's a continued improvement process. I have team leads I work with, the director, all those guys on the help desk side, because it's the majority of the tickets
Yeah.
or cases, they're constantly coming in for improvements. We put a catalog item in there called, ServiceNow enhancement requests.
Okay.
So now we have like a log of requests that we can go through and see which ones are going to be the most impactful. So really, it's the constant iteration and change that we're trying to work on. So I think that's really what you were saying, is trying to keep it fresh, and then having some external like customer perspectives of what new things to do, new technologies, or hey, it would be great if you could do this, or our customers can do that. So and then figuring out how can we not just do it for that customer, but then also incorporate that.
Yeah.
So then all the customers can actually benefit from it.
Well, a couple of things I want to highlight there with your approach. One of the things that you didn't mention is that this is not an IT tool. This is a business tool. So you might have mentioned that at the top of the call, but having worked with you for a couple of years, and several of your peers all the way up to Austin at the CEO level, everybody knows what ServiceNow does. Everybody understands what the vision is for it, and they're aligned on what it's actually going to do for the business. So that's really important, and I think that's a big reason why you guys have found success, is that you have alignment at that leadership level.
Yeah.
And second to that, you have a structure in place for continuous improvement. You have team leads for those process areas. You have a function in the technology for people to submit feedback, and then you're getting that feedback from a multiple different folks and different stakeholders. So just want to compliment you there and recognize that you've kind of got the thing built pretty well, and I think that's why it's working. Just transitioning to the next section. Talking a little bit more about your role. Obviously, the hot topic right now is AI, if you've ever heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
I know that Resource has made an investment in that, and we're actively working on getting that implemented.
Yep.
You and I had lunch last week, and we were talking a lot about some of the stuff we're doing at work and in personal life with some of the AI tools. But let's just do a little bit of rapid fire kind of CTO thoughts on where AI is, how you're using it, and where you think it's going.
So I think on the business aspect it's like, I think it's going to be a game changer in regards to if used right, like if we're like, you have to understand the fundamentals of your business in order to know where to apply it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people that I've talked to, or or I've heard people trying to discuss this, is, they're like, what is your AI initiative, right? And it's like, well, it should be a little bit different. It's like, what tools are you using to leverage? How are you leveraging AI?
Yeah.
Right? Because I think if you don't leverage it in some way, but every company's different.
Yeah.
So there's no one tool that's going to fit it. So it's actually, I have my IT team. I've kind of like let them experiment. I gave them a space to just like, here's the tools, play around with it, learn it, understand the fundamentals of it. So I think really is, for me, it's like, I got to understand what skills are, what are agents, how does that all lay out in the back end? How do you connect it? MCP tools, all that. Understand that. So then you can go, oh, I can not just use Now Assist, right? And do all this stuff, but then I can also leverage NetSuite and then filter all this data into Now. Like, you can do so many things and figure that out. Or put an AI in between that layer. So it's just understanding like where the benefits are, because you can have it where it's going to automatically email everybody or something like that.
Yeah.
But like, where's all the good stuff? Like, where is it going to totally benefit the company, either dollar wise or performance, or performance wise there.
Well, I think you hit on something important, that you still have to at least have a basic understanding of the subject matter that you're prompting against in order to get to that endpoint that you want.
Yeah.
We talked about that at lunch. Some of the things, if you're trying to do like financial analysis, or you don't necessarily understand the end-to-end process, it's probably not going to build what you want. So I think it's obviously changing daily and weekly and getting more advanced and faster. But I think we've had at least one episode already where we talked about what we're doing internally and kind of our thoughts on it. But I think it's you have to apply AI on top of the business strategy, rather than having just an AI strategy in general, or maybe it's a little bit of
or
both,
in between,
yeah,
like, so in between the departments or in between a process or something like that.
yeah,
I feel like it's going to be more of a mesh. You provide that one small thing that makes the connection of two processes that you really couldn't connect,
yeah,
or something like that. So there's a lot of that. Is just our company is ripe for so much,
yeah,
and there's only so much time you have. So it's really, now it really comes down to, is like, where are you going to put your time and attention to,
yeah.
to focus on that, and then move on to the next, big high stake.
So for the kind of scoped project that we're doing with you guys right now with Now Assist,
Mm-hmm.
I know that we're doing some agentic stuff, some summarization and generative stuff for you. Back to the kind of KPIs and outcomes lens, like what were you looking to do? Was it a time saving, a cost saving, all of the above? Like
It's
what was
going to
the
be
thought?
time saving. His time saving does equal to cost savings.
Yep,
It's just actually more of a productivity savings, right? So
yep,
there's right now, ticket triage is in the mix right now. We're almost done with that to start testing it out. But our leads have obviously they can just do the case summarization and do all
yeah,
that. So that's for our leads, so they can review. That's a big time saving. But then having all these inbound automated cases that are coming in, we have to touch every single one of them. So that's our big time saving, right?
mhm,
So if you could save 3 minutes on 10,000 tickets a month,
yeah,
that's a lot of time,
definitely
and
adds up.
it allows our agents some breathing room, and it allows us to reschedule and how our agents are, and give people leeway and stuff like that. It's a massive amount of improvement just on saving that time.
Well, and if it's the same folks that were excited at the beginning of when you got
Hmm.
ServiceNow, they're
Yeah.
probably stoked about this
Yeah.
because it's automating a lot of the stuff that they probably don't enjoy doing anyways,
Exactly.
and making those handoffs between teams or back to the customer a little bit faster. So
Hmm.
definitely can see when you have that much volume, how that would add up over time. Um, Continue down kind of just the general thought leadership stuff. I'm curious from a CTO's perspective, what are the biggest challenges that you have this year? Could be leadership based, could be tech based, market based, anything that you're kind of working through right now and excited about finding a solution for.
I think for me is continuing to reduce technical debt,
Hmm.
understanding the services that we have, and then realigning that with what we're doing for our customers right now.
Hmm.
I think right now for us, like with ServiceNow, with Now Assist, it's taking a lot of the burden off of one thing and going, oh, look at this over here on
Hmm.
the administration or the account management side, or in our ERP side, where we can then start focusing on making really good improvements on there, finding all the repetitive stuff that we can
Yeah.
do. So it really is just, once we get this done, is pivoting over, and then understanding what systems are we actually doing, using, and which ones are we not, and are they beneficial? And it really is just it's an audit year, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How do
Mhm.
you assess and then kind of rank and score those priorities? Because you have a lot going on, which is awesome, but you can't get all of it done yourself, or even maybe your team get all that
Mhm.
done in a year. What are some of the lenses that you apply to figure out what those top initiatives are?
I think, obviously the number one would be cost savings. If
Yeah.
we could do that in a smart way, that would be the first lens that I would do it. And then obviously operational efficiency, like where we, if it can reduce the number of touches, if it reduces the number of emails or any of that, that would be my second. Those are the two big ones. If you rank them one and
Hmm.
two, it would be cost savings, and then operational efficiencies on there.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Okay. And I'm curious, usually the third piece of that is risk mitigation. Is there
Hmm.
a flavor of that in what you do in terms of like SLA penalties with your customers or anything like that that you can help avoid with
Again,
something like ServiceNow?
I think we're spoiled over here. The team that runs it, the SLAs have always been outstanding. Like, they have been really good. It only makes it better to where we can where we could show our customers we're hitting SLAs in a phenomenal way. We're
Yeah.
minutes instead of hours.
Wow.
So that's not to toot our own horn or anything like that, but the team has been great within doing that. The focus has always been that way. But what we're trying to do now is, can we reduce the amount of tickets that hit their table in front of them, so then they can focus on more of like the harder ones, or we have back office server replacements that take 3 hours. And then it allows us to take 2 or 3 agents off answering calls. And then even though that may reduce our front end agents by 30%, they can really go and look at the details and take their time and get that done. So it really is like that. So that's our risk is, are we giving these guys enough time, or forcing them to like, hey, we got to get you back on the phones so we don't miss SLAs, or give them the time to really do a great job and getting that, I'm using back office servers because it is a labor intensive job.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that they get all the time to do that. But yeah. And then I think the other one though is for us soon is on the security side, So I think like ServiceNow has Watchtower that's coming, that they
The AI control tower. Yeah.
Control tower, that's what it is. And so there's a new interest in actually trying to figure out like what type of security we're going to have to start looking at, you know, when we start adding not just Now Assist, but then if there's other ones that we're going to do for other processes, and they start talking and how we could do that. So that's another one that that's been on my radar.
Well, I think that's a really interesting approach as far as how ServiceNow is going at it versus what others are doing. Is they're thinking ahead, or maybe right on time to that governance layer. And the cool thing about that is it can ingest and manage agents and LLMs that are not ServiceNow native. So it's something that we're very interested in the partner world, and doing a lot of investigation. We have a number of customers that have invested in that as well. So excited to learn more about that. And I'm curious, hitting right into our rapid fire last couple minutes of questions here. What do you think the next 12 to 18 months looks like from an innovation perspective? If you could have somebody invent something with AI or something else that would really help your business, or something that people are not necessarily thinking about right now, what would that be?
I think in our side, voice is still a big thing. Like there's some of our customers have moved over to ticket only, but that's because that was an internal thing that they did for them as a company. But a lot of customers that come to us is still phone heavy. You got stores, small operations, they're all segmented. Even though it's a large company, each store is by itself. And they need to be on the phone with somebody when their drive-through is down, or their terminal's down, or their credit cards go down. They need to be on there. I think eventually, now that we're doing all this triage and ticket management, I think voice is coming. I think voice is coming soon. I think someone's gonna be like, wait a minute, and then because we're looking into some technologies right now to tie into ServiceNow with that, with our contact center and stuff like that. But I think that's gonna be the big one for us, and understanding sentiment, finding that sentiment, doing scores off of that sentiment, while with our customers, with our stores, they're part-time managers, or it's a day shift and a night shift, so no one's getting the email for the survey, right? So get to see it, getting all that CStat stuff, but being able to understand the sentiment while they're on the call. What was the call sentiment before, and what was it after? I think having a score for that is going to greatly help us understand, how are we supporting the customer? How are we leaving that customer, to go?
Well, I think it's important to understand who your customers are from a, are they likely to use a chat? Are they likely to use email or phone as a certain channel, and really designing the process in that way. And another thing that you mentioned is voice is a channel, email is a channel, portal. I think as all of these layers of AI and other things are kind of built on top of the platform, some of the core foundations of what ServiceNow does are still there. So it's still omni-channel. It's still eliminating silos and manual processes. And obviously I'm biased because I've spent my whole career so far at ServiceNow and in the ecosystem, but it truly is a very cool technology that I've seen folks like Resource and many other customers really get an awesome ROI from. So wanted to start wrapping up here. and say thank you very much, Nick. You're the first customer that we've had on FoxTales,
Oh, nice.
and definitely hope to have you again
Yeah.
at some point soon. A couple things for our audience. ServiceNow's Knowledge Conference is coming up in just a couple of weeks out in Las Vegas, May 5th through 7th. So I hope to see some of you out there. Give SnowFox a follow on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. Thank you guys very much for watching, and hope to talk to you again soon. Thanks, Nick.
All right. Thanks.